One of the strongest temptations that a man can encounter throughout his life is lust. Lust is what sways a man to sin, falling in fornication, adultery, pornography, or masturbation. Like it's written in Galatians chapter 5 verse 19 says, "Now the works of the flesh are evident," and it lists first of all these kinds of sin, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, and lewdness, which is lust or lasciviousness. Even the toughest men who believe to be grounded on the firm foundation can be tumbled by lust. The enemy knows that, so if lust is such a problem for men, what is the enemy doing to amplify this attack? Well, he's weakening men through their dreams, through sexual dreams. Now, I did a teaching some time ago titled "The Evil Day," where I explained that demons can enter temporarily through dreams in order to weaken you spiritually. So just a quick disclosure, if you don't believe that Christians can have demons, then this teaching, unfortunately, is not for you, okay? And we're not going to teach on that today because a lot of children of God, a lot of men of God are being attacked and tormented relentlessly by this spirit, so we don't have time to entertain theology today. I'm just going to give what God revealed to me, which is an effective tool to combat this adversary of lust that is actually destroying men. All right. This teaching is about defeating the temptation of lust and counterattacking sexual dreams that have the purpose of leading you towards sexual sin in real life. First of all, what are sexual dreams? A sexual dream, they're dreams that men or women may experience if they have had a promiscuous or lustful life in the past. These dreams present sexual scenarios in which you can find yourself doing sexual things and you don't really have too much control of what you're doing in that dream. These sexual dreams have 3 levels of strength. The first level is the seduction level, where in the dream you see and you come close to attractive women who intrigue you, who you grow curiosity to look at them, to contemplate them. And you may follow them, but not draw too near to them. And nothing really physical happens in that dream. The second level is the interaction level, in which in the dream you interact with that woman, meaning that you approach her, you speak to her, you can touch her, you even kiss her, or she kisses you. And it becomes close and physical, but nothing more than that. Now in the third level, which is the strongest level, is the fornication level. In the dream, and well, pretty much you commit the act of fornication with the woman. What actually happens when you have a sexual dream? Well, when you have a sexual dream, a demon will literally enter your body through the dream. And the goal of that demon is to cause you to be weak in your spirit, to cause you to be weak in your mind. It causes you to burn with passion and sexual thoughts. It exposes you to temptation through circumstances that are out of your control, and to guide you to manifest that dream in real life as precise and as close as possible to the dream, so that you will ultimately fall to sin voluntarily. All that effort that the demons go through, all that planning, that strategy of attack, is for the sole purpose is to cause you to voluntarily sin. It's that simple. But unfortunately, it's very effective, and the enemy knows this, and people of God, they're the ones who don't know it. So by causing you to sin voluntarily, this is an open accusation that the enemy has before God, and it's valid in order to allow more demons to come into your life. Now, of the people of God who are attacked through sexual dreams, like I mentioned, anyone who has had a door of lust. This is those who have had watched pornography in the past or have fornicated in the past, in their past life. They have a door of lust because they once opened that door. Now, the door never really disappears as long as you live, but it is possible to keep it closed through God's help and living holy and righteously. Now comes the question, if the door is closed, meaning that we repented, we're not practicing sin anymore, then how can a demon enter through the dreams if the door is closed? Let's remember that the Apostle Paul persecuted the church, and for that reason it was fair according to God that he should suffer for the name of the Lord. So that a messenger saying was granted permission to actually come and attack him so that he doesn't boast with all the revelation that the Apostle Paul was receiving. It's very similar. So the same way the enemy comes to attack you when you're most vulnerable, which is in your dreams, in order to begin the process of battle, of temptation. Now God does not actually produce that dream because he's holy. And he does not produce any uncleanness. What God simply does is he allows the enemy to be loose on you so that you are tested like a good and faithful soldier. Let's go to the book of Jubilees. It's a book that I recommend. It complements the Word of God quite well. And there is a passage here that talks about when Noah, the sons of Noah started to reproduce in the land, and evil spirits, demons started to come in and enter men, and the evil spirits at that time. And this book, like other ancient books, do confirm that the evil spirits, they were the children or the what came forth from the giants and the mixture of angels and women, and that produced evil spirits because they just stayed on the world. They stayed in dry places. They stay here. So here is a very important passage that I want to read, which is a pleading from Noah to God regarding the demons. Chapter 10 of Jubilees, verse 1 says, "And in the third week of the Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah and to make and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah, their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons. And he prayed before the Lord his God and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and has not caused me to perish, and thou didst the sons of as thou didst the sons of perdition. For thy grace hath been great towards me, and great hath been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lift up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, the angels, the watchers, which are the fathers of those spirits when they mix with women, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation. And let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my God, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and forevermore. Verse 7 says, this is where the devil responds, and the Lord our God bade us to bind all. Here the angel is telling the story. And the Lord our God bade us to bind all those evil spirits. And the chief of the spirits, Mastema, which is Satan, came and said, Lord Creator, let some of them remain before me. Some of the demons remain. And let them hearken to my voice, and do all that I shall say unto them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment. For great is the wickedness of the sons of men. And he said, let the 10th part of them remain before him, and let 9 parts descend unto the place of condemnation. So 1/10 of all those demons remain, and they're the ones who are here today. Now I understand that this is a macro example, but we have to apply the same way to our lives in order to understand that the enemy can still afflict us even after being born again. And God will allow he will allow this in order to test us, because he himself was tested in the desert. He himself was tempted in all things and persevered to the end. So we also have to be tested through temptation, because he was tested through temptation. But the good news is that this temptation will be reduced. It will be if you're walking in holiness and righteousness. But you must understand that if there is a door, one way the enemy can bypass it is through the dream, which is a temporary time that he is allowed in to try to tempt you to see if you fall. So I know that I have taught in the past in the topics of deliverance about the doors and the portal. The door, which is right here, door represents willful sin. A portal represents witchcraft, somebody doing witchcraft to you. And there's another one, which is the dream. The dream is like a glitch in the system. That's what a dream is. A dream is the enemy bypassing the door, bypassing the witchcraft, bypassing that closed door, and is granted a short time to cause affliction so you can be tested. And God will allow it. Like, God will allow it. You have to be tested every now and then. So it's a bypass. Okay, so there is an exception to the rule. And normally the dream, which is in the between world, between the spiritual and the natural, is the dream. And the dream is a way to bypass it. And sometimes the demons do bypass, and they're given a short time, a temporary time to cause affliction and temptation. Now we're going to focus on this drawing, which I believe will help us gain strategy to defend ourselves and to counterattack the enemy when it comes through these dreams, through these sexual dreams. There are three important areas in your spiritual life or in your prayer life. Let's just call it that. Your areas or locations in your prayer life. The first one is the room. The second one is the synagogue. And the third place of prayer is the street. That's what these represent. And where do I find that? That's in Matthew chapter 6, and that's verse 5. It says, "And when you pray, you shall not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues, and in the street corners of the street, and that they may be seen by men. And surely I say to you that they have their reward. But you, when you pray, go into your room or your chamber. Go into your room, and when you have shut the door," why do you shut the door? Because there's intimacy. Nobody else is allowed to be there, only you and God. "Pray to your Father who is in secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you publicly." Now the room is the most secure place to be with God. Is in a spiritual sense, the room is a place with most intimacy with God, because you are naked before Him. You have nothing to hide. In the room, you are like that man who beat his chest and couldn't even look up at heaven, saying to have mercy on him, and who recognizes his shortcomings and his weaknesses. And it is the place of least hypocrisy as well. The place where you are most humble, the place where you have nothing to prove to God, because your heart is exposed to Him. You have nothing that you can prove to Him. Okay? No one can see you in that room when you change. Only God. The room is also the cleanest place in the house, because that's where you sleep. It is a place of constant prayer, where your communication with the Lord doesn't stop ever. It is the most secure place to be. Now, the synagogue where you can also pray, right? You can pray, but it's a different type of prayer. You can still have a relationship with God, but in the synagogue there's also other people. It's not that intimate. And when there's other people, what happens? You cannot really be naked and exposed that much, because there is an image and a social status to uphold. This is where you could be a hypocrite, where you can live a double life, where you can pretend to be in good terms with God, but you're really not. So in the synagogue, you are like the man who reminds God how much you pray, how much you fast and how good you are. Here your heart is not exposed to the Lord that much. You still hide some things. There's not that much of an intimacy, and pretty much all your prayers are superficial. Now in the street is the prayer location of most hypocrisy. You are all day in the world, and your mind it's in the things of the world. But when someone sees you in the corner, you pretend to pray because you only pray when you need to. Therefore, your intimacy with God is zero. You have no intimacy with God at all. No true relationship with Him. All is in vain. It's just vain repetitions. It's all routine. It's superficial, a superficial Christian lifestyle. Because you worry more about what people think of you, what the world thinks of you, more than what God thinks of you. So this is a location where you pray just out of convenience. So the question is, where are you located in this drawing? Are you located in the room? Are you located in the synagogue? Or are you located in the street in regards to your intimacy with God, with your prayer with God, with your spiritual life? Where are you located? Now, when a demon enters through the dream, like we explained here, he will enter, and depending where you are in your spiritual life, your prayer life, depending where you are in holiness, well, he will appear right here. Or he will appear right here. Or right here, right next to you. It's an instant attack at you. You can be attacked and have a sexual dream in any one of these circles. It just depends which circle you're attacked. Why? Because there is angels. There's angels in each one of these circles. There are angels in every one of those circles. Let's talk about what happens when you have a sexual dream now, okay? We can use this as a guide, as drawn as a guide. When you have a sexual dream, a demon enters your body. The question is, where are you spiritually when the demon has entered you? Were you in the street? Were you in the synagogue? Or were you in the room, in the chamber, the closest place with God? In the street, and we'll talk about, I'm going to give you a few numbers. We'll talk about this in more detail in just a moment. But in the street, the enemy has 100% strength against you and 100% possibility of landing a fornication dream. And it takes 21 days to get rid of. Approximately 21 days. From my experience dealing with brothers, dealing with lust, about 21 days to get rid of this demon that's entered and is causing this affliction, this attack, this temptation. If your prayer life, if the location is in the synagogue, then the enemy will have 60% possibility of fornication. And that's going to be for 7 days. And in the room, there is 30% chance of landing a fornication. And it's going to take approximately 3 days, because I'll explain why in just a moment. Now, why are there 3 different categories of time based on your location? Why? Because the angels of God, which is the help that God sends to you from above, are at different distances depending on your spiritual location with God, your place of intimacy with God, and your place of prayer with God. So the first thing that you must understand when you have a sexual dream is that a demon has entered. And that's not necessarily through legal means either. And the days that follow, you're going to probably going to be attacked through temptation, sexual temptation, more than what you used to handle. So if your location of prayer is in the street, then you will be receiving less help than if you were in the room. That's how it works. And it will take longer to receive that help. And the best example that I can give you is that of if a thief enters your house and you call the police, you call 911. If you're someone important, like in the government or something like that, then many police officers will come to rescue you, to help you, and they will come very fast. Okay, but if you're someone who lives in the ghetto where there is crime happening all the time, then the police will not come as fast, and you'll be lucky if one or two police officers show up. It works very similar to that in the spiritual world. So as in the natural world, in the spiritual world, it's almost exactly the same. Okay. Now I want to go to Daniel to give you an example. The book of Daniel, chapter 10. Chapter 10, verse 12. There's an example of the time it takes for an angel to come aid someone. And this is when Gabriel came to Daniel. Then he said to me, "Do not fear, Daniel, for from the first day that you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before God, your words were heard, and I have come because of your words. But the prince of the kingdom of Persia withstood me 21 days. And behold, Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." So what this means is that it took some time for the angel to come to reveal, to help Daniel during his fasting. So there is a time factor here, and there is also a blockage. There's a barrier. So he was confronted. He was. It says here that he was withstood for 21 days. So he was blocked by another principality. So when you have a sexual dream, following that, you are going to be under spiritual attack and the temptation of lust. So that the reasons that you fall into sin, you begin to pray to God. That's the first thing that you do. Now, a good example of a demon entering for a temporary time is that of King Saul. So let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 16. 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 14 says, "But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and a distressing spirit," or in the King James original it says, "and an evil spirit from the Lord trouble him," meaning the Lord allowed it to happen. "And Saul's servant said to him, Surely a distressing spirit from God, or an evil spirit from God, is troubling you. Let our master now command your servants who are before you to seek out a man who is skillful player of the harp, and it shall be that that he will play, and with his hand when the distressing spirit from God is upon you, and you should be well." And then if you go down to verse 23, it says, "And so it was, whenever the spirit from God, and here they took out the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David would take the harp and play it with his hand. Then Saul would become refreshed and well, and the distressing spirit will depart from him." So here's a perfect example of what I'm saying right here. So a distressing spirit came. I mean, it doesn't say there necessarily through the dream or anything, but it's an example of God allowing an evil spirit to cause distress, to cause problems. And it came, and then when David played the harp, it will go away. So it was there for a temporary time, is a point that I want to make. Now, I know that King Saul's case is very particular, but what we can apply from this event is that it is true that God allows an evil spirit to enter him, and the demon would reside there, troubling him with anger, with bipolar disorder, until David would come and play the harp, and the evil spirit would then leave. That's what we see here clearly. Okay, so something similar to this occurs when a spirit of lust enters you through the sexual dream, and we need assistance because that demon is causing temptation, is causing spiritual weakness. So like David with the harp, we also need assistance. We need to be ministered as well, somehow be fortified, be strengthened, so this evil spirit will leave. And what happens exactly during those days of temptation while you're praying? What happens with those angels? Like, what really actually occurs in the spiritual, and how does it manifest in the natural? Let's go ahead and go to Mark, the book of Mark, chapter 1. Chapter 1, verse 12. It says, "Immediately the spirit drove the Lord Jesus into the desert, into the wilderness. And he was there in the wilderness 40 days, tempted by Satan, and was with the wild beasts. This could be interpreted also as with demons, was with the demons out there in the field, being tempted, being a lot of thoughts coming in, and the angels ministered to him. Okay, so similar to that, we see the same thing in Matthew chapter 4, verse 11 says, then the devil left him, because after he tempted him, the devil left, and behold, the angels came and ministered to him. So same thing. So Jesus was being attacked by the devil. He was exposed to temptation with the beasts of the field. And what happened? Well, the angels came and served him, because angels ministering means they came and served Jesus. And what happens when the angels serve when you're being tempted? What exactly happens? Well, we find that in Luke chapter 22. Luke chapter 22, verse 40 says, this is when the Lord was praying before his arrest. When he came to the place, he said to them, pray that you may not enter into temptation. So when these things happen, pray so you don't enter. Enter means give in to temptation, to surrender to it, give in, enter. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's throw, and he knelt down and prayed, saying, Father, if it is your will, take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. Then an angel appeared to him from heaven, straightening him. So in the desert, when he was tempted by the devil, and the angels came and ministered to him, here it says, what does that mean, ministered or served him? Strengthened him. The angel came and strengthened him. That's what happens when the angel comes and ministers and serves. It strengthens us. So what happens in each of these locations, spiritual locations, when you are tempted, when the demon comes in through the dream and you are tempted with lust? What happens after you wake up and you start your day, and what occurs? Okay, well, in the room, in the intimate place, in your chamber, in your closet, like it says in another translation, in that place, like it says right here, it's going to be quicker. It's going to take maximum 3 days. It's going to be fast, but you still have to fight. You still have to defeat that temptation. You know, the Lord, it took 40 days, right? He was there 40 days, and I'm not necessarily comparing the time here, but it's just an example that it took a while, that he was being tested and tempted. You're going to be tempted about 3 days if you're in this place of intimacy with God. And it's going to be tough, but the angels are there, and they're going to come and strengthen you. So God sends help. When God releases help, you get strengthening, and it comes from his messengers. But if you're in the synagogue and a more hip, you're just a little bit superficial, it's going to be tougher. It's going to take about 7 days for that thing to leave. So you're going to be tempted longer. It's, for example, like Saul with that evil spirit, with anger and being bipolar. And imagine David playing for 7 days. He's playing for 7 days, and finally he's better. Who's going to have patience for that? So that's what happens if you're there. And if you're in the street, forget it. Now let's go to John chapter 1 to explain the most effective way and what happens spiritually when you're in the room, in the location of the room. John chapter 1 verse 51 says, and he said to him, most assuredly I say to you, hereafter, this is in the very beginning, in chapter 1, hereafter you shall see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. Now, did they actually see this physically? Well, he said it, so it was happening. So when a demon enters you through the dream and begins to tempt you, like I said, the best place to be is in intimacy with God. The room is the safest place, is where you are performing constant prayer in your mind and in your heart towards the Lord, where the angels of God are at arm's length. They're close by and constantly there in order to strengthen you, in order to get you through the temptation, just like they aided the Lord Jesus when he was being tempted in the desert. Okay, so it's the same thing. And like they aided him also when he was praying, with agony right before he was arrested, before he was crucified. He was praying with agony, and the angel came and strengthened him. I'm not talking about nothing else than what is written here. So in the room, the angels will be descending, ascending over you, just like they did with Jesus. It's something constant. It's constant fortifying, constant protection, so that you don't fall into temptation, so you don't fall into sin. Because keep in mind that this entire operation from the devil is just to get you to voluntarily sin. That's the whole plan. Okay, now there are some recommendations that I want to give men and also women when it comes to a sexual dream. We know that you will be weakened spiritually, but there are also things going on in the physical that you have to be made aware of. Now, for example, if you're using social media after a demon has entered to the dream, then what you're going to notice is that you'll be provoked. There's going to be more provocative things, more temptation appearing in the screen than normal if you're using social media. Or if you go outside, then you're going to just run into more lustful women and lustful scenarios and situations than normal, etc. So now there are natural things that can occur in the physical world. These are physical things, natural things. But when you add them with the fact that you're spiritually have been weakened, then this will provoke you to be extra curious about what you just saw on social media or that girl you saw on the street. And that demon that entered you through the dream will cause the urge to look, to be curious a lot more and a lot stronger than normal. So that you're enticed, you're lured, so that before you know it, you're already knee deep in the mud. You already sin willfully. That's how it works. Now, the personal example I can give about this same scenario is that a few years ago, I remember that this happened to me. It was a sexual dream. I was weakened, and it was pretty bad. Like, I felt like I was being bombarded in my mind, in my spirit. And I remember I deleted social media. I just deleted from my phone. I even deleted my WhatsApp, which is the main way that I communicate with brothers. And I just deleted it. I told my parents, I'm just gonna pray. I need to just be with God. And I remember that after a few days, I reinstalled. I felt strength. I felt better, and I reinstalled everything. I reinstalled WhatsApp on my phone. And then I saw a few notifications for people that were messaging me, just normal conversations. Things that they were messages I received through those days that I didn't have my social media. But this particular message came from a woman, a lustful woman from my past. And I remember that I never talked to her again. It just randomly popped up because it was one of those messages that came through during the time where I was going through that attack. And I saw it, and I remember she was saying, "Oh, I like your videos. Like, I'm so proud of you. Blah blah blah. I would like to talk to you." And I remember I was like, "Nope, block, delete." So I blocked her and I deleted, never heard from her again. But the thing is, I saw her little profile picture, and it was definitely lustful image. So I was like, "Nope, deleted." And I laughed. I remember I laughed at the enemy. I was like, "Wow, like." I was being attacked. This thing came through my dream, being bombarded. I felt weak. I had to pray. I had to delete my social media. But if I didn't delete my social media, if I didn't delete my WhatsApp during that time, I would have gotten that message in my weakness. So I'm not saying I was going to fall to sin, but imagine during the time that I was weak, I would have gotten that message. So God had mercy on me. And as I was learning a few years ago, that was a lesson for me. And I was like, well, thank you, Lord. Thank you that this happened when I had my phone off, my apps deleted, and I was just, I silenced the world and I focused on you. And then when I turned back on, the world and the stress of the world, the worries, and, I was good again, that message came in and I was like, nope, sorry, it's not going to work. So it was just incredible. And this could happen to you as well. So that's why I recommend it. If you are attacked, if a demon enters to a sexual dream, it's not worth to delete the stuff. So again, my recommendation when it comes to the physical world, and if you have a sexual dream, is that you completely erase your social media. Delete from your phone. Is not worth it. If you don't need it, okay, trust me, you don't need it. So eliminate that screen from your life. Even if you're bored or you have the urge to see what's going on, with people, it's your soul, okay? So it's not worth it. If your spiritual location of prayer is in the street, it's going to take 21 days. So it's going to be 21 days of no social media, of just being careful, because what you find in there, Fast, you have to fast and pray. So fast if you can, or at least don't eat too much, because when you eat too much, it weakens you spiritually. Also avoid worldly friends. It's good to step out of your house, so you're not alone in your house thinking too much. Maybe concentrate on work. Just don't stay thinking too much about your troubles. That's what I mean to say. Okay, and be careful when you go outside as well. Don't go to places when there's too much temptation, too many people, because the demons, they will lure a lustful woman towards you and draw you to situations to increase that temptation in the natural world. That's the way it works as well. And if you're in the synagogue, like I said, then it takes 7 days. And if you're in the room, it takes 3 days. So you have to, just turn off the world, delete those apps, social media, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, delete it. Okay? Now, my recommendation in the spiritual realm when you have a sexual dream is that you first acknowledge what has happened. And don't be afraid to accept it, but don't make the mistake either of underestimating it. In spiritual terms, you have to turn off the worries, turn off the stress, turn off the world, and take this attack very seriously, because it is serious and it's very dangerous. But don't make the mistake of blaming yourself either, or being too harsh on yourself. But what you need to do is take action quickly. Don't just stay there. Don't just take the blows, okay? Because what a lot of ministers are saying, when I did some research on this, a lot of people, basically everybody, is telling you to ignore it, to not accept it, to just ignore it, and it's gonna go away. And I can tell you that I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of seeing men of God fall because of this, and get spiritually drained because of this. It's very dangerous and needs to be taken seriously. You need to take action and stop listening to motivational, effeminate pastors that minimize the gravity of the situation, this attack, and consequently, they minimize the fruit of this attack, which is brothers ending up masturbating, watching pornography, fornicating, committing adultery, which happens, and I see it happening. So this is very serious, and men need to wake up, because they're being destroyed. Okay, so keep in mind that both King David and King Solomon both committed mistakes because of lust. So don't presume to be better than them. Take this advice seriously, okay? So what you need to do spiritually, when a demon enters through the sexual dream, is to do everything in your power to get into that room, to get into the room, your prayer closet, and remain there with God, which is in your mind. It's not an actual place, it's in your mind. Okay, now moving on. What happens if the dream involves fornication? That means that you had sexual intercourse with the woman in your dream. And that, when you wake up, you notice that you ejaculated in your sleep, in your bed. This has 100% chance happening if you have a door of lust and you abide in the street, okay? If you abide spiritually in the street, then there is a high chance that the demon will get you to fornicate with her. You have to understand this. So what that means is that in the room where it's less likely, or in the synagogue, or in the street, if you have a dream of fornication, it's just a stronger attack. Like I said, it's a deeper level, a deeper layer that the enemy has penetrated, and this is going to be tougher. It's going to take longer. That's like hitting the jackpot for the lustful demon. That's what they want to go for. But if you're in the room, if you're living holy, righteously for God, and you're praying, you're reading your Bible, and you're constantly praying, then that shouldn't happen. But if it does happen, maximum is going to have a 30% chance of landing a fornication dream. Synagogue, if you're kind of being a hypocrite a little bit, and here and there, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, most likely more than half chance is going to happen. And in the street, you're just a full hypocrite. 100% chance going to happen if you have a door of lust. Now, if you have ejaculated or have had a wet dream, like the world calls it, then that will be an added day of temptation, because that day of prayer does not count pretty much, because the Word of God says that whoever has the emission of semen, then that person will be unclean the whole day. What that means is that automatically the temptation will last a bit longer, and it will be a bit stronger, because the demon has actually penetrated into a deeper layer. Okay, that's what that means. I know that this is a difficult topic to hear, and if it sounds silly, I don't care. I know it's effective. I know that there's a lot of men of God dealing with this problem, a lot of suffering with this problem, a lot are being destroyed because of this problem. And what you have to know is that if you continue allowing demons to enter your life through lust, and you continue in willful sin, the truth is that you'll be given over to a reprobate and perverse mind. Okay, and you'll be a slave of that perversion, and you will not be allowed into the kingdom of God. Period. All right. So because God's not going to allow that. He's not going to allow a perverted soul who is tainted with lust to enter new heaven and new earth. It's just not going to happen. Anybody who practices sin is of the devil and is a slave to sin. And if any so-called man or woman of God is telling you not to worry about it, and if you have a sexual dream, they minimize the fact that you have fallen to porn, for example, or masturbation, fornication, adultery, run from them. Run for your life. Don't look back. Don't talk to them again. Forget those brothers, forget those pastors. So dear brothers, listen to this advice and gird yourself with understanding, so that when that evil day comes, you don't fall to temptation, so that you don't fall to the plan of the devil, who is working relentlessly to simply cause you to willfully sin, so that he can accuse you before the Lord. So don't let him, resist him, but do it with wisdom and do it with understanding.